there's a couple different reasons you would want short-term insurance, and we're going to dive into those in this video. But imagine the two main case scenarios. If you're purchasing a vehicle in a different state, I've had customers that had to purchase a vehicle in New York, but New York required at the time that they have the vehicle registered from the dealership to leave the lot, and they had to have insurance to register the vehicle. So in that case, it would make sense to have a short-term policy. The other case is if you don't want to pay those expensive prices when you're renting a car. If you want to insure a vehicle but don't want to utilize your personal insurance or don't have insurance, then short-term rental car insurance or short-term insurance is going to be a better fit. Let's explain a little bit more of the benefits and the reasons you would need the rental or the short-term insurance. So technically, if you have an insurance policy in most states, asterisk there, don't blame me if this is not in your state, find out if it is, that you have to have car insurance, especially if you buy a new vehicle. Let's say it's the first vehicle you bought, or you have a policy that you're on and you're purchasing another car. You technically have a certain window, anywhere from 14 to 30 days, to insure the car on your policy. So when you're driving the vehicle home, even though it's not registered or you don't have insurance on it, most states automatically cause your current policy to insure that vehicle. If that's not the case, you're going to want to have something called a short-term insurance policy. Could you currently buy an entire policy? Absolutely. The downfall is if you don't have a policy today, it's way more expensive in almost every single state. You're getting a 20 to 30% increase because of not having a policy for a certain amount of time. In this case, these short terms take that into consideration because they know that you're only going to keep their policy for a short window. So if you know that you're going to drive the vehicle and you just don't want to think about it right now and you want to get going, then you're going to probably want to purchase a short-term policy. If you don't have time to talk to your agent, whatever the case is, that's the route that you're going to want to take to move to the next step. Typical time frame can range anywhere from a single day all the way up to a 6-month policy. Keep in mind, if it is going to be closer to a 6-month policy, it may make more sense to go directly to start your own insurance policy. In some cases, you may have ended your current policy and didn't have time to get the new one started. You're going to want to jump on that policy so you don't have a lapse. If you think you're going to move out of the country or leave in a certain location and you're not going to have insurance after that time frame, why pay the whole 6 months or pay the monthly fees and then worry about getting reimbursed? You might as well just pick the time frame that you want and then do a short-term policy to go from there to where you need to be. Regardless of if you even have a policy today, you can still purchase a short-term policy. Most insurance companies won't let you have two policies at the same time, mainly because it's two companies are going to fight who's at fault. Technically, they won't know that you have it, so you could purchase policies from separate insurers. The problem is they're eventually going to figure it out, and they're going to deny your claim on both ends. Now you've got to fight who was the first one and figure it out. You're probably going to be okay in the end. The only thing is, do you want to spend the extra time, effort, and legal battles to figure that part out? Plus, on top of it, the short-term policy is typically less expensive. So if you're going to do it for 6 days or 7 days or whatever the case is, then it's likely that you're going to want to go that route anyways. If you're going to rent a car to go to Disney World or Disneyland or whatever the case is, then maybe that short-term policy is going to be the best fit. Now, most policies do actually cover rental cars, so don't think that you have to buy a policy for short-term if you're going to rent a vehicle. If you're going to use that in most cases, most personal insurances, so I'm with a company A, they will cover the rental car. The only piece that you got to be very careful with is if you do have an accident in a rental car and you're using your own insurance, you've got the same liability limits, the same collision and comprehensive coverage. If you don't have collision and comprehensive, that's that piece. But also if you have an accident and the loss of use of the rental car. So if they were constantly renting that car on average, let's say 5 days a week, and they were getting $50 a day, you owe them $250 every week that car is in the shop getting fixed until it's done. Do most companies go after you for that? Not usually, but it's still a piece that you gotta know that isn't covered in that situation. The other great part of a short-term car insurance policy is that there's not usually a number of drivers that you have to have. So you can have friends and family added to it. It's not restricted to just you. In most cases, if you have multiple people driving the vehicle, you just put them on that policy, make sure they're covered, and then you're good. The other piece that we didn't mention that you may want this for is the short-term car insurance is if you're going to rent the vehicle to somebody else. There's a lot of these peer-to-peer rental car systems, these Toro and these rent my car for a day, rent my Tesla, all of that is out there. If somebody's going to rent your vehicle and you don't want them on your policy, which is 99% of the time excluded, you can't just rent your car out and expect it to be covered on your policy. That's not a permissible use case. You're actually getting money for that service. It's a business. And if you're going to do that, you would want them to have some sort of insurance. So that's a way for you to give them an option to have a short-term rental piece where they can purchase the insurance and you know that that vehicle's covered just in case something happens. You could be the head of the policy, add them on as a driver, and you're good to go. The only thing you got to be a little bit careful is if they extend the life of the car or the rental version of that car in that peer-to-peer system, make sure that you extend the insurance policy for the time frame that they have it. And of course, by now you're probably wondering who are these companies that do this? The ones I found online, I'll go ahead and put them in the description below. In the meantime, if you're the type of person that just doesn't own a vehicle and you want to have some type of insurance to drive other people's vehicles, that's a different story. We need to look at something called a non-owner's policy. I'll go ahead and link the video to show you how to learn about that there. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Otherwise, go ahead and check it out. I'm Mark with Think Insurance. I'll see you in the next one.